Welcome to this explainer. So if you've ever gone down the rabbit hole researching erectile dysfunction, you already know the internet is just a completely confusing place, right? Most of the advice out there, it's entirely focused on managing the condition, finding those quick fixes and symptom-masking pills. But what about actually fixing the whole shebang? Today, we're cutting right through that noise to look at the actual source material regarding the true biological root cause of ED. We're going to look at the pathophysiology. That's just a fancy word for the actual mechanism of how this happens inside your body so you can understand how to actually resolve it right at the source.
Okay, let's kick things off by challenging the single biggest assumption out there. Is ED really just a low testosterone problem? I mean, it's the very first thing most of us assume, right? People immediately think, oh, I must just need to focus on my testosterone levels. But, well, the medical data reveals a much more complex reality. Think about this fascinating medical mystery for a second. We see plenty of guys walking around with perfectly normal testosterone levels who still struggle heavily with erectile dysfunction. And then, on the flip side, there are men with abnormal, clinically low testosterone who experience zero ED symptoms whatsoever. Literally none. So why is that? Well, testosterone is absolutely a piece of the puzzle, for sure, but it's really only a fraction of the story. There's actually another major player at work here. The true missing link and the main focus of our explainer today is this absolutely fascinating master molecule called nitric oxide, or NO. Our bodies make it naturally, and we can also get it from food. Specifically, nitric oxide is produced by your endothelial cells. Those are the incredibly delicate cells lining the very inside of your arteries. It acts as an endothelium-derived relaxing factor. Okay, what does that mean in plain English? It means nitric oxide is the specific molecule that tells your arteries to just relax, to vasodilate, to let the blood flow freely. You can kind of think of it like a biological traffic cop that just tells your arteries to open up and let everything through safely. But here is the seriously jarring reality of our biological timeline. 50%. By the time you blow out the candles on your 40th birthday, your natural nitric oxide production drops by a massive 50%. Half of your natural ability to relax your arteries and increase blood flow is just gone. Since nitric oxide is absolutely crucial for erections, this dramatic drop-off explains so much of what men experience as they get older.
So the really crucial point here is that even famous medications, like Viagra, they aren't actually fixing your underlying deficiency at all. What they're doing is simply hijacking and manipulating your existing nitric oxide pathways. They rely entirely on whatever nitric oxide you still have left in the tank. This tells us that a deficiency in this single molecule is literally the most likely reason someone experiences erectile dysfunction. It's a vascular issue. It's a plumbing issue, long before it's anything else.
Let's look at the nervous system and see how this all connects, because nitric oxide doesn't just act alone. It actually helps regulate cortisol, the stress hormone. And it's a proven biological fact that you cannot get an erection when your body is flooded with cortisol, anxiety, and high stress. Your body is literally focused on surviving in that moment, not thriving. The whole vascular system just firmly locks down. Erections only occur when you're in a parasympathetic dominant state. That just means your nervous system is calm and your stress levels are low. Actually, this is exactly why men naturally experience erections while they're sleeping. The body is finally in a deeply calm parasympathetic state.
So a deficiency in NO isn't just an intimacy issue, right? It's really a holistic, systemic warning sign for your entire body. For instance, look at the connection to sleep apnea. A staggering 79% of people with sleep apnea have erectile dysfunction. That is a massive number. And it's largely because nitric oxide increases oxygen release in your blood. If you're deficient, you're going to have a hard time breathing, which links directly to asthma as well. Then we have insulin resistance. Diabetics almost always struggle with ED. And finally, statin drugs. Those are usually prescribed for cholesterol. Well, statins block cholesterol, but cholesterol is actually a necessary precursor for making testosterone. So blocking one often ends up diminishing the other. To really grasp the severity of this, let's look at what high sugar does to the inside of your arteries. It completely destroys the endothelial level, thereby decreasing the amount of nitric oxide produced. That's a direct insight from the source material. High sugar doesn't just make you gain a few pounds, it literally causes structural damage to the inside of your arteries. It destroys those delicate cells. And once those cells are damaged, your capacity to produce nitric oxide just plummets.
We can actually round up the main villains destroying your endothelial layer and depleting your nitric oxide into a few specific lifestyle factors. High sugar, like we said, acts like literal sandpaper on your arteries. Excessive alcohol, that actively depletes your NO reserves. Chronic stress and anxiety flood your system with cortisol, completely shutting down that crucial parasympathetic calm state. Insomnia and sleep apnea
totally disrupt the REM sleep cycles that are intimately involved with producing nitric oxide. And of course, those statin drugs interfere with the hormonal precursors you critically need.
Reversing ED, the 5-step lifestyle protocol. Now that we know what's going wrong, let's look at the exact steps to fix it.
There are basically 5 highly effective natural steps to heal your vascular system right at the root level. Nasal breathing, mild exercise, dietary nitrates, lowering stress, which means avoiding that sugar and alcohol we talked about, and improving sleep. Let's break down exactly why these work so well.
Step 1 is honestly just a brilliant physiological hack. Simply closing your mouth and switching exclusively to nasal breathing adds 50% more resistance to your breath. I know, it sounds super counterintuitive, right? Like you're getting less air. But that added resistance actually forces a direct increase in nitric oxide sent to your lungs and the rest of your body. In fact, nasal breathing increases the release of oxygen into your blood by a full 20%. It's a massive, immediate boost to your vascular health, and you can literally start doing it right now.
Now, when you combine that nasal breathing with just some mild exercise, your body gets completely primed to heal. You just have to give it the raw materials, and that is exactly where dietary nitrates come in. We are talking about your classic health foods: beets, spinach, kale, and dark leafy greens. These foods are packed with natural nitrates that your body grabs and directly converts into nitric oxide to repair those delicate endothelial cells.
The science from the source material is totally clear on this. You actually have the power to fix the root cause, rather than just managing the symptoms with a pill. By combining nasal breathing, mild movement, nitrate-rich foods, stress management, and making sleep a priority, you can actively combat that 50% drop in NO that naturally comes with aging. So, the only question left to ask is, which of these 5 steps are you going to implement tonight to start rebuilding your nitric oxide and reclaiming your vascular health? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and we'll see you next time.